Most football legends start their story with shiny academies, expensive boots, and supportive families cheering from the sidelines. Cristiano Ronaldo's story starts somewhere very different. On February 5th, 1985, in a small island city called Funchal, a boy was born into a family that had very little money and even fewer opportunities. His full name was Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro, a long name for a kid whose future at the time looked painfully ordinary. His father, José Diniz Aveiro, worked as a kitman for a local football club. In simple terms, the guy who washes jerseys and carries equipment, not exactly the glamorous side of football. His mother, Maria Dolores dos Santos Aveiro, worked long hours as a cook and cleaner just to keep the family afloat. The Aveiro family lived in a small house in Madeira, a place beautiful enough for tourists, but brutally limiting if you were a kid dreaming of becoming a global superstar. And Ronaldo was not a calm, well-behaved child, not even close. Teachers complained constantly. He was loud, hyperactive, and completely obsessed with football. Homework bored him. Sitting still bored him. Almost everything bored him except kicking a ball. Some people would call that undisciplined. Others would call it the early signs of obsession. And obsession, as history keeps proving, is often the ingredient that creates greatness. By the age of 6, Ronaldo wasn't just playing football for fun. He was playing like a kid who had already decided this game was his way out. Out of poverty, out of Madeira, out of an ordinary life. And whether people believed it or not, Cristiano Ronaldo had already made up his mind. He wasn't going to stay small forever. By the early 1990s, one thing about Cristiano Ronaldo was becoming painfully obvious. Football wasn't just a hobby, it was basically his entire personality. While other kids in Madeira were busy doing normal childhood things, Ronaldo was doing something far less balanced. He played football before school, after school, and sometimes even instead of school. Teachers were not exactly impressed. In fact, one story from his school years became famous later. Ronaldo once got into an argument with a teacher and reportedly threw a chair in frustration. Not exactly the behavior of a calm future superstar. But here's the strange part. While teachers saw a problem child, people around the football field saw something completely different. At just 7 years old, Ronaldo joined a small local club called Andorinha FC. And that's where things got interesting. So while other kids went home after training, Ronaldo stayed. He stayed longer. He trained harder. He chased the ball like it owed him money. Coaches quickly noticed something unusual. This skinny kid wasn't just fast, he was obsessed with winning. If his team lost, Ronaldo would cry, not quietly either, full emotional meltdown, the kind that makes adults look at each other like, should we be worried about this kid? But inside that dramatic, emotional kid was something powerful, an insane competitive fire. By the age of 10, Ronaldo was already considered one of the best young players on the island, and bigger clubs were starting to notice, which meant one thing. The quiet island life of Madeira was about to get very, very small for Cristiano Ronaldo. By the time Cristiano Ronaldo reached his early teens, something had changed. He wasn't just the best kid in his neighborhood anymore. He was starting to look like the best kid on the entire island of Madeira. After impressing everyone at Andorinha FC, Ronaldo moved to a slightly bigger club called CD Nacional. And this is where the gap between Ronaldo and other kids became painfully obvious. Most youth players play football because they enjoy it. Ronaldo played like someone who had something to prove every single day. He trained harder, he ran faster, and he hated losing more than anything. Teammates later said that even during practice matches, Ronaldo treated every game like it was a World Cup final. If his team lost, he would get furious. Some people thought it was arrogance. Others saw something else: relentless ambition.
And that ambition started producing results quickly. At Nacional, Ronaldo's speed and dribbling began destroying defenders who were often 2 or 3 years older than him. Imagine being a teenage defender trying to stop this skinny kid sprinting past you like your shoes were tied together. It didn't take long before scouts started paying attention. Word was spreading beyond Madeira. Coaches on mainland Portugal were hearing the same sentence over and over again. There's a kid on that island who's different. Different in talent, different in mentality, different in ambition. Soon, one of Portugal's biggest clubs decided they wanted to see this mysterious island prodigy for themselves. And that decision was about to change Cristiano Ronaldo's life forever. Because the next step in his journey would mean leaving Madeira and everything he had ever known.
By 1997, the secret about Cristiano Ronaldo was no longer a secret. Scouts across Portugal had heard the same rumor again and again. There's a kid on the island of Madeira who plays like he's angry at the ball. That rumor eventually reached one of Portugal's biggest football clubs, Sporting CP. So they invited the 12-year-old Ronaldo for a trial in Lisbon. Now imagine this situation. A skinny kid from a quiet island suddenly traveling hundreds of kilometers away from home to compete with some of the best young players in the country. Most kids would be nervous. Ronaldo? He treated it like a challenge. During the trial, coaches noticed something immediately. Yes, he was fast. Yes, he could dribble. But more importantly, he played with a kind of intensity that made the other kids look comfortable, too comfortable. Ronaldo wasn't trying to fit in, he was trying to dominate. And within days, the decision was made. Sporting CP wanted him in their academy. But here's the difficult part most people forget. Accepting that opportunity meant leaving Madeira, leaving his family, and moving to Lisbon alone at just 12 years old. No parents, no childhood friends, just a football dream and a lot of pressure. For many kids, that kind of move breaks them. But for Cristiano Ronaldo, it did something else. It sharpened the obsession he had been carrying since childhood. Because now, the dream wasn't just a fantasy anymore. Now, it had become a path. And that path was about to turn a poor kid from Madeira into one of the most famous athletes on earth. And the hardest part of Cristiano Ronaldo's journey hasn't even started yet. Subscribe to the channel to see what happens in the next chapter.